Don Bosco said, "We owe everything to her, Our Lady." As we celebrate our feast of Our Lady, Help of Christians, together as a Salesian family, let us remember that all we have, we owe it to Mary, Help of Christians. I wish to thank all those who participated in this video, and especially Director Major Don Angel Fernandez.
Day 1. Mary, Woman of the Bread. Bread has a deep sense of significance. It is simultaneously a sign of every human need and a sign of God's salvation. Mary embodies and understands every man's need. Through her comes into our world her Son, Jesus, our only salvation, who with his mother is bread continually broken for the happiness of each and every person.
L'Evangelista Luca,
The evangelist Luke, while writing about the Christmas of Jesus, makes us note that he uses the word manger repetitively 3 times.
è un rilievo che fa pensare a
It specifically suggests an intention to represent Jesus as the food of the world from his first appearance.
la mangiatoia
The manger, intended for animals, thus becomes the symbolic place where bread is placed for men.
per gli uomini. Maria, portatrice
Mary, the bread bearer, had already understood her role from the moment she was brought to Bethlehem, which means house of bread.
Casa del pane. Nella notte della nascita di Gesù,
On the night of Jesus' birth, Mary uses the manger as if it were a basket on a table, prophesying Jesus' gesture at the Last Supper, when he invites everyone to take and eat his body, offered as a sacrifice for them.
sacrificio per loro. E Maria non è solo
Mary is not only the bearer of spiritual bread, but also the bearer of material bread, taking care not to leave the table of her house empty.
la mensa di casa sua. Alla fine,
Finally, a prayer is raised to Our Lady that she may intercede for a just distribution of bread, so that none of her children will be left without it.
ne rimanga privo.
In a faraway land, a poor widow eked out a meagre existence by rendering service to a wealthy and mysterious woman who lived alone in a gloomy old villa buried deep in the heart of the forest. The good widow did her work with generosity and precision, and one day, unexpectedly, the lady gave her a gift, an extraordinary ring. By turning this ring twice around your finger, you can transform yourself into anything you want, the strange lady explained to her. The widow did not take it much seriously, but when a terrible famine struck the region, she remembered the ring. She twirled it twice around her finger and turned into a magnificent hawk with sharp wings. He decided to fly until he found land that could provide sustenance for his son and his neighbors. He flew until he had exhausted his strength, then sadly returned to his home. Famine had struck all the lands of the kingdom. There was no escape for anyone. But the woman did not resign herself. She turned the ring twice, and it turned into a huge, fragrant loaf of bread. When her son came home and saw that huge loaf, he began to eat with gusto. It was only bread, but it satiated admirably. As he chewed with relish, the widow's son saw a neighbor passing by with whom he had had many disagreements and who had created in him strong dislikes. He was determined to ignore him, but a voice in his heart compelled him to invite him to share that miraculous bread. The word spread, and from all over the village people flocked. The big and the small, the young and old, poor, sick and healthy, desperate and restless. That bread seemed never-ending. Moreover, it did not just merely take away hunger, but instilled serenity and a desire for peace, a sense of goodness and health for the body. Those who were enemies were reconciled, and those who had previously ignored each other smiled cordially. Every night, the last crumb of bread was transformed back into that generous widow. Every morning, the woman became a huge, fragrant, delicious loaf of bread, nourishing the body and the spirit of the villagers. So was it until the new harvest. A big feast was organized that day. Naturally, the widow also attended. Everyone who approached her felt a strange sensation. The woman smelled like freshly baked bread.
My name is Natalino Miato. I'm a Salesian past pupil and president of the Triveneto Provincial Past Pupils Federation. Our federation and all the past pupils associated with our centers try to help past pupils and Salesians by developing projects to help young people and those in difficulty. Last year, on March 7th, 2022, at 8 o'clock in the morning, I received a phone call from Father Petro, a very dear friend of mine, a Salesian from Leopoli in war-torn Ukraine. Petro's message was clear. Natalino, he said to me, this horrific war has brought us to our knees. It has stolen everything from us. We need everything. Medicine, food, clothing. But most of all, we really need a new minivan so we can drive mothers and children to safety and deliver food to hard-to-reach places. And I said, okay, Father Petro, I understand, we'll try our best, we'll see, but no promises. And then he says, Natalino, I know you can do this. You have so many friends, so many good past pupils in your associations. I know you can do this. I said, all right, Father Petro, let's see, but we will do our best and get on this right away. Father Petro replied, Natalino, I trust in you. I really do trust you. I was really taken aback by this request. And immediately I called my closest collaborators, friends and fellow alumni. I called Albertino, I called Paolo, and told them all about this request. We were all convinced that we had to get organized and try to help. And so we started calling our friends, those who were Salesian alumni and those who were not. And to our surprise, it seemed like all these people had just been waiting for our call. They all rose to Father Petro's urgent plea for help. By midday, Albertino tells us that he had already found a practically new minibus. Cost around 30,000 euros, that's a lot of money. But we encouraged ourselves not to get discouraged and worry about the cost. Our dear friend, Father Bruno, a saintly Salesian who had been our beloved teacher and mentor back in the day, had always told us to trust in divine providence, to trust Don Bosco and Mary Help of Christians, who would always be there to help us. At 3:30 in the afternoon, I get a call from Renzo, another friend of Father Petro. I had called Renzo earlier in the day to ask for his help. Renzo says to me, Natalino, listen, Federica and I want to be part of this solidarity project. We want to help out, and we've already found a van. It's just perfect. It's at a reliable dealership here in Padua. I don't have time to do all the paperwork, so please just go and see the van yourself and make the purchase. Just tell me how much money I owe you. I will transfer you all the funds for the full payment for the van. Needless to say, all of us, Paolo, Albertino, and I, we were just beside ourselves with happiness. I told Renzo, listen, Renzo, that's very generous of you, but we are still collecting funds. And Renzo says, no, listen, Natalino, no worries. I want to pay for the van. Meanwhile, the fundraising went on. We collected medicine and food, etc. And so we went to Padua to see the van. We began the process of purchasing it. And there was so much complicated paperwork. It was a classic case of generosity moving much quicker than bureaucracy. But we got the job done. I'm so grateful to Father Alberto Polis, the provincial treasurer of the Triveneto Silesian province, and his secretary, Erica, who helped me through the purchase process, helping me to overcome all the hurdles. And so we sealed the deal, the van is ready and it's ours, and so we loaded up with medicine and food and everything we collected. Father Petro was on his way to come get it, but then I got another early morning phone call. It was Father Petro, and this time he had bad news. Natalino, he says, I have a special permit, but they won't let me leave the Ukraine. Oh, I said, so what do we do now? Everything is ready. The papers are all in order. The minibus is full and ready to roll. Father Petro says, don't worry. I'll send you 2 guys. Erica already has all their documents. You'll see everything will be fine. Lo and behold, the 2 guys arrive and the van rolls out, loaded with all the first responder supplies that Father Petro had asked for. At a later date, pallets loaded with another donation would be sent to the Ukraine by courier. So doing things like this is something we really enjoy doing in the association. We feel called to do things like this. We're convinced that everything the Lord gives us, all the good things that we enjoy, all the beautiful things, are gifts that we have received from God's gracious and generous love. And they're not meant just for us. We know that we need to share them with those who are most in need. And so our love to all of you. Long live Don Bosco, and long live Mary, Help of Christians.
Holy Mary, Woman of the Bread, you experienced the poverty of Nazareth, and with the sweat of your labor you fed Jesus. Show us the meaning of misery, and help us to be sensitive to the cry of the poor. Teach us to understand that bread is not enough to make one happy, and that only the living bread descended from heaven satisfies the soul.